Growing up, my family would go on road trips every Christmas holiday from Lagos to our hometown in Adamawa State, Nigeria. Inspired by this experience are 25 staple recipes and heartfelt stories just for you. This is Sally's 25 Days of Christmas.
No, some people don't do.
For our fish pie, I used a horse mackerel fish, which is also known as kote here in Nigeria. You can use the regular mackerel, which is Titus fish here in Nigeria as well. And then you need some freshly chopped onions, garlic, scotch bonnet pepper for some heat, tomatoes, chicken bouillon cubes, some salt, and some curry powder. So first, we are going to wash thoroughly and boil our fish. I'm just going to boil this in salted water until it's cooked all the way through. From time to time, you can flip your fish to ensure that it cooks on all sides. And so you're just going to allow this to cook all the way through. Emphasis on cooking all the way through, okay? You don't want an undercooked fish. Once your fish is cooked, you're going to transfer it into a dish or a flat plate, whatever works for you, and let it cool completely, because we are going to be deboning this with our hands. So we need our fish to be completely cooled to do that. Once the fish is completely cooled, we're just going to debone this. You have to take your time and make sure you do this carefully and take out as much bone as you can, if not all, okay? I have eaten this fish so much that I already know the anatomy of the fish, if you will, because I already know where bones are found in the fish and how to take them out as well. Same thing with Titus fish. So I advise that for this kind of snack, you do not use shower, this sardine type of fish. It has so many bones, you would not be able to take all of them out, and this is a snack where you definitely do not want to chew on fish bone or swallow fish bone accidentally, okay? So you have to use a fish that is fleshy, doesn't have so much bone, and that you can easily take out the bones as well. So that is what I'm just doing here. So you're going to take out every single bone, and when you're done, of course, you put your bone in a separate container and put the flesh of the fish in a separate container. So once we're done deboning our fish, this is what we have. Now we are going to shred our fish, okay? You do not want to have big chunks of fish like this in your fish pie, so what we're going to do is shred it. However, the best way that I do this is by pounding. I use my mortar and pestle and I just pound. You're not trying to pound it to form like a paste or whatever. You're just trying to pound it to shred the fish so that it scatters evenly. If you have any other utensil or equipment in your kitchen that you can use for this, feel free to use that. If you have a shredder, use your shredder. But for me, this is what works. Okay, so once I'm satisfied with how much the fish has been shredded, I am going to proceed to make my fish sauce for my filling. I am making a sauce because I do not want my fish pie to be dry. I want it to have a little bit of moisture to it, and so the sauce is going to really help bring that to life. Okay, this fish pie is inspired by my nephew and nieces when they came for the holidays last Christmas. We didn't travel to the north. They live in the north and they came to meet us here in Lagos to spend the Christmas, and we baked pies. Even though we made meat pie and sausage rolls, I just decided to do fish pie instead. Normally here we have fish rolls, but just to do something innovative and something different, I just thought to make fish pies inspired by the memories that I shared with my nephew and nieces last Christmas. So now that I'm done shredding my fish, into my saucepan I'm going to add enough vegetable oil because I'm making a sauce. Okay, so you want enough vegetable oil for your tomato and pepper base because we're using fresh tomatoes and peppers to make our sauce. And so after this, I'm just going to add in my onions and fry them till they turn translucent. Okay, now mind you, you're going to be doing this on medium heat. You don't want your heat to be too high because you don't want to burn your onions, your garlic, and you don't want to ultimately just burn and dry out your sauce. And so once our onions turn translucent, I'm going to go in with my pepper and tomato mix. So I used a mixture of Scotch bonnet pepper and chili pepper. You can use whatever pepper tickles your fancy really, and the measurement for this really depends on the quantity of fish pie you're making, and it also depends on your preference with heat when it comes to pepper and tomato mix. So some people like really spicy food. Personally, I do not. That is actually why I mixed my peppers. I had a mix of Scotch bonnet and chili because I don't like spicy food. So if you like spicy, you can just use all Scotch bonnet. You can even add in some habaneros, that's the yellow pepper. You can do whatever it is that really you want with your sauce. And so once I add that in, I'm going to add in my garlic as well. Fry this for a couple of minutes until my sauce is properly fried. Now when you're frying freshly chopped tomatoes and peppers, you notice that your tomatoes releases juice into your oil, and so your sauce bubbles, right? It bubbles and it doesn't necessarily fry till it's like dry. So what you're just going to do is, we are not trying to fry this till it's dry. We actually want that moisture from our tomatoes. And so what we're just going to do is, the moment we give it some time to cook and we see that we still have some juice, we're now going to go in with the rest of our ingredients. This is not a sauce that you want to fry until it's completely dried. You just want to fry it till it's cooked. Okay, so once that is done, I'm going to go in with my shredded fish. I noticed that the oil I had put was not enough. I didn't expect my fish to be this much for the quantity of sauce I made, and so I had to go in to add a little bit more of oil just so that my sauce doesn't get dried. Okay, and so we're just going to saute this for a little bit and we take it off. You're not going to do this for long because, like I said earlier, we're not trying to make a dried sauce. We want our sauce to be juicy. So we're just going to saute this to marry all the ingredients together and then take it off the heat. So this is what we have, and now we are going to start building our pies. So for our pie dough, I have a video where I made this pie dough recipe. It's a multi-purpose pie dough recipe. You can use it for meat pie, chicken pie, fish pie, and your rolls as well, your sausage roll, your fish rolls. You can use this dough for all that good stuff. It's very flaky, very buttery and delicious. You guys should check that out. I would leave the link to that video in the description below. So check that out to get the recipe and the rules and regulations that come with making this pie dough, because there are rules. Okay, there are rules. And so right now I'm just rolling out my pie dough that I'll be using to make my fish pies. So I like to roll out my pie dough to be quite thin, because I do not buy the idea of biting into a pie that has such a very thick crust and then the filling is just like very scanty or not enough or not as thick as the crust. I want more of the filling than the dough. I don't know if that makes any sense. And so for me, it also helps with giving you a very crispy, easy to chew, easy to bite into pie, and I love that. so I like to roll out my pie to be thin. You can really roll out the dough to whatever thickness you like, but I just like to roll out my pie dough to be quite thin. Now, not too thin. You don't want it to be too thin such that it breaks or it bursts or whatever. You want it to be thin enough, not too thin. I'll be showing you the texture in the video. So now that I've rolled out my pie, I decided, I should try to do something different, something fun. When you have beef pie, there is a particular shape to beef pie, which is this dumpling cutter. It's almost like a moon shape almost, or like a semicircle shape. Everyone sees that and knows that, oh, that's a beef pie. But then for chicken pies, we have the round shape. Some people use a round cutter for chicken pie. Some people will do a square shape for chicken pies. You just know, oh, that's chicken pie. So for fish pie also, you can actually just do whatever shape you like. You can do maybe a triangular shape, whatever it is you want. But just because I was being over ambitious, I decided to be creative and do a fish shape, literally, because I was making a fish pie. You see what I did there? So yeah, I decided to dig deep into my inner craftsman self. I started to dig deep into my inner artsy self and just come up with how I was going to do a fish pie and make it look like a fish, right? Like an animated version of a fish, of course. And that is what I was doing here. I have to tell you that this was pretty time consuming. Oh man, was it time consuming. Just to make one of these took me quite a while, although after I made the first and the second, the third became easier and even much more beautiful than the first two I made, because I made some enhancements here and there, and it was prettier and neater self. So I just did that. However, you can skip all of this drama and just do a nice basic shape of pie for yourself with fish filling. We're going to be using two cutouts, one for the top and one for the bottom, and then I'm going to add in my stuffing, which is the beautiful fish sauce that we made earlier. At this time, the fish sauce has already cooled completely, so that is actually the best thing to do because it's easier to work with and all of that. So yeah, I'm just going to put enough but not too much. So to ensure that all our stuffing is sealed and protected, we are just going to use a little bit of egg wash at the sides, and then we are going to cover our pie and just press down the ends to seal everything in. The egg wash is going to help adhere our top layer of dough to the bottom layer. Okay, it's going to help ensure that there is no leakage, there is no busting open, everything is just sealed in perfectly. I decided to go in with my fish detailing first for the first one, even though I do advise that you first seal in your filling and press it down with your fork before adding in your stuffing. But this was how I made the first pie. As I decided to go in with my filling here, I'm just using a really sharp and pointy slim knife to add my details. So I'm adding my details to my fish to make it look like a fish. I realized that, I should have done this before adding the rest of my details. But yeah, you should do this before you start adding your details, okay? So I just started to press this in. You're doing this to completely seal the edges. This is going to ensure that nothing leaks out. Everything is going to be perfect. And I don't know about you, but for me, that is actually my favorite part of pie. The fact that it's crunchy after baking and you can just chew on that, and just like if you want to eat just pie dough, that is the best part of the pie, to actually have a taste of the pie dough itself. I decided to add some scales here. I'm just adding like just a few scales because it's pie we are making. Okay, you can't do too much. You do not want a situation whereby you make so many cuts, so many holes, and then your filling is just leaking out. You still want the pie to look presentable after baking. You don't want anything to go wrong. And so you can see this, my first fish pie, is not looking like fish. So it took me 3 trials to get the perfect fish pie shape and look, okay, but nonetheless we made it work. And so here I was just making a few adjustments with my design with my fish pie, and I just was trimming off the excesses, trying to make it look as neat as possible and trying to make it look like a fish. So now that that is done, I'm just going to cut open the mouth of the fish. Of course, every fish has a mouth that is almost always open. Yeah, so I think that is what made it look like a fish, the fact that I cut open the mouth. So yeah, we have one, and then there's two more to go, and so I'm just going to do that again and then allow you guys to watch and learn. Like I said, this is optional. You don't have to do this exact design, okay? You can just make whatever nice shape of pie you want to make. You can even still use the beef pie dumpling cutter and just do it. It doesn't have to be this, but this is something that I think is going to be very fun for you to make for your guests, especially if you have kids. I feel like they would really love this. They would love the fact that, oh, it looks like a fish, and things like that. Children really find things like this interesting. I think this is going to be really cool. And also as a business owner, as someone entertaining guests, I think this is something that would be really cool, that isn't really seen out there, and people would really appreciate. So yeah, I think you should try this out, and you definitely get a hang of this, and you definitely get great reviews, trust me. And so after this, we are just going to arrange our pies on our already lined baking tray, and we're going to brush our pies with egg wash. This is to make sure that once our pies bake, they get this nice golden brown color. We're going to bake this on medium heat for about 20 to 25 minutes until it's golden brown to your preference. Guys, look at how lovely this looks. This pie dough is to die for. It is everything you want your pie dough to be. I really advise that you check out the video of the recipe of this pie dough and try this recipe out. Let me know in the comments what you think. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, share this video to your loved ones as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Have a beautiful Christmas.